A 2001 Chevy S10 Lowrider build that's got water coming out of the engine, a piston that blew out of the side of the engine, putting a massive hole in it that can't be repaired. It's going to need an engine, and of course Gas Diesel Garage is going to build one, because I need to start rolling with these lowriders. And yes, my lowrider will have hydraulics. Yes, I will be rolling with this sweet looking Mazda pickup, and this old school Cadillac, and this iconic Lincoln. I need to get to work. I think I'm gonna have to get a little bit creative. Would be the junkyard. Everything out here that you need, just sitting there ready to be plucked. So I pick up an engine at my local junkyard, couple $100, but of course I need to go through it, make sure that everything's all straight. So of course I start taking everything off the top, taking my harmonic balancer off with the puller, the timing chain cover, and of course I mark everything. I'm marking all my rockers here. 1 1, 2 2, 3 3, 4 4, just because I need to put them back in the same place that they came off of. As you can see here, so I take them all off and I place them in a box, so I don't lose them. And then I take a box because I need to take the push rods out, and yes, I want to put the push rods back in the same places that they came out of. So poke a couple holes right down where they came from, then I just start putting them in. Don't need these gaskets no more, the lower intake gaskets, because we're going to be replacing those lower intake gaskets. But they actually look pretty good. Not too bad for this old engine. So you guys don't lose your mind, I'm going to crack the heads by hand. I'm not going to use no air, I'm not going to use electric impact. I'm going to crack them by hand so y'all don't go crazy in the comments. And yes, crack them by hand. You don't want to warp the heads from what people think happens. We're cracking on, as Matt Armstrong would say. Crack. Crackety crack. Now I know there's probably a sequence to unloosening these things, but I just crack them because we're going to torque them down anyways when we put them back on. It's okay to use an electric impact after you crack them, because all I'm doing is just backing them out. Then to get to them easier, I just take a magnet and I just fish them on out. And of course I have to get to the bolts on the side of this block, or head I should say, because there's bolts on the outside and on the inside, just like this. Good old Chevy power. Now all I need to do is just pry it up a little bit and use two hands because these things are heavy as hell. Now taking a look at the cylinders, they don't look all that bad. A little bit of rust in this cylinder one, but that could be just from sitting. Now the engine did turn freely, so I wasn't too worried about it, because like I said, it's getting rebuilt. Not bad looking. Now it's time to take the timing components off. Hit these three little bolts. Should come off in one assembly. And take the cam sprocket off. Then I'm dumping the rest of this nasty coolant. I hate Dexacool. That stuff sucks. Then the lifter braces, taking that off. And the lifters, they are a little bit stuck in there, as you can see. So what I do is I just turn the cam a little bit to get them loosened up, and they'll pop out a little bit. As you can see, they're actually moving, so that's a good thing. Don't know why I'm taking the cam backing plate off, but hey, it's got to come off anyways. Since I popped the cam out a little bit, I'm able to pull all the lifters out. And don't worry, all this stuff's going to be cleaned up. Yes, I'm being gentle with this cam. You don't want to screw it up. But I might put a different cam in it. Get a little bit of performance. See how gunky these lifters are? It needs a deep cleaning. And of course, after we clean them up, we're going to put them in some oil, let them soak overnight before I start putting this stuff back together. Ew, that's pretty gross. But it looks like I can save them. Here we go. Everything was pulled out of the engine. It's time to clean everything up now. Not too bad. Got my lifters looking a little bit better. Whiz wheeling everything up. Cleaned it up as best I could. Now I know this looks pretty good cleaning it up with a whiz wheel, but I'm not really satisfied with that just yet because I want to paint this engine. As you can see, I was able to clean it up pretty good, but I think I need to do something else before I do all that stuff. If we're gonna do it right,
We gotta do it right.
There we go. Painting this thing kind of like a pastel gray for the block, and then on the heads I'm doing a black, I guess you could say like a gloss, black gloss. I have to say, it actually looks pretty good. It was now time to focus in on the rebuilding the heads. Well, it got my valve spring tool out. Had to separate and pull these little keepers out. There's 24 of these little things, and if you lose them, you're pretty much screwed. So gently let it on out, and I removed the valve from the bottom. I tell you what, they're not looking very good. Look at all this crust all over this valve here. That's pretty disgusting. So I got all my valves and springs out. Now inspecting the head, that doesn't look good. Got a little bit of rust in there. Yeah, that's disgusting. Now I throw all my valves in my little secret sauce here overnight, and then I clean them on up. Now that I got the heads all nice and clean and painted, I need to start installing the valve stem seals and the rockers and all the other jazz. If you guys are wondering what kit I'm using to rebuild this engine, I'm using this D&J kit. I mean, it comes with absolutely everything you need. I mean, all the seals like we're working on right now. We need to grab our valve stem seals right there. Got them all. And these things can be a little bit of a pain in the butt pulling them off. Then pulling them off or actually just wiggling them around. Oop, got that one. But let's make this a little bit easier. I'm just going to put you through a time lapse because I got to pull all these things off and put all new ones in and all the valves and so on and so forth. Right, now that we got all the valve seals in, we can start installing the valves and getting this show on the road, man. Next up, the other head. Pulling all my tape off from that freshly painted black paint job I have on the head. And I'm going to pull out all the rest of the valve stem seals. And yes, I made it look a little bit easy because I loosened them up just a little bit. Then I went ahead and installed all of them. And here's my little technique on how to clean the valve stem seats. As you see, I'm using my little whiz wheel cookie here, and the big one fits properly, but the little one doesn't. And this is how I was able to clean this thing very well without taking it to the machine shop. Now this is just a little bit of a hack on how I'm able to get that the valve stem seats pretty dang clean. I took a regular typical cookie on my whiz wheel. I took the valve and I traced around to get the width or the diameter of the small valve, because obviously this one's a little bit too big. So I traced it all out and then I cut it out. There we go. Get some good scissors because regular scissors will not cut this. But anyways, that cookie's going to look just like that. Now the whole point of that was to at least get the valve seats at least semi-clean, because you don't want anything escaping. You wanted a good tight seal. So I think it did the job. Alright, I'm not going for a popularity contest or how good you can get your heads to look, but that's gonna suffice right there.
Now that I got them all cleaned up looking pretty, now it's time to throw the valves in. That's the easy part, I think. Like a glove. Right.
Next, I lay the head on its top basically, and I go ahead and install the valves according to where they came from. If you saw or remember, I had these things marked on which cylinders they go to. Now sliding them all in like this, it'll save you a lot of trouble. And sliding them in, yes, you're going to feel that little resistance. That way you know it's a good seal. I'll flip it back on over and then line up my springs and my keepers. And they're going to slide on just like this with this tool right here that I did not use earlier, but this is a much better tool. Let me show you.
This is a lot better tool because it compresses it, and I can just slide it on here just like that. And then I can grab my little things here. I can slide them in, but I can't do it with one hand. Now that I got both collars in, all I gotta do is unloosen it. And like I said, I can't do this with one hand. See? When I release, it's gonna come up just like that. There we go, much easier, much easier. My final day, you can't take that away. Here's one way to tell if you got a bad valve. Put a straight edge on it and see if they all touch at the same time, which they all are, which is great. No bent valves. Now on to this one. Now that we got head 2 loaded with all the valves and the springs and the keepers and all that, let's see if I have anything that's bent. Let's put that straight edge on there. Check that out. Nothing bent. I think these things are ready to go on the engine.
Next, it's time to prepare the engine for the cylinders. So yes, I'm going to have to clean up these cylinders. I'm going to do a little bit of a honing job inside there because that's what you're supposed to do. And yes, I spray it down with WD-40 and grab my honing stone. I spray it down, spray it down, because you need that oil, that lubrication for the stone. Because if you use that stone without putting any kind of oil on it, you can screw up the cylinders. So just doing my little honing job here, because I need to get that nice looking crosshatch pattern in it. Now I say that's not too shabby there. Now we can start assembling this thing. All right, looking good. Let's move on. Next, I have to get these rods out of these pistons. And yes, I can put it in my press just to push the pin out. We are not going to use the press to put the new pistons in. Never do that. And make sure the thing doesn't fly out like that. But we're just pushing the wrist pins out. That's all we're doing, FYI. They will not be reassembled like this, I assure you. I just need the rods. And they should drop out just like this. And I'm not worried about, there we go. Now, I got them all disassembled. Now it's getting new wrist pins and new pistons, as you see. D&J hooked me up. Now I need to grab all the wrist pins because they're going somewhere for 24 hours. Right into the freezer. And leave them overnight. The metal will shrink because metal shrinks when it's cold and metal expands when it's hot. So gonna leave that in there for about 24 hours and let's go do some other stuff. So we need to install the rod into the piston, and you're gonna need a special tool for that. Torch, because we need to be able to heat the rod up. We got to heat all that right there because we need to expand the metal, and then we're gonna go grab our pins out of the freezer and we should slide them on in. Yeah. So okay, we're gonna install the piston and the rod and install the wrist pin. Number one, there's two sides to this. We're going to install this on the larger side, which I'll show you when I start putting them together. But also too, here's another thing that I'm sure that you're going to ask. If you're not asking this question, you might have a problem. If you look at the piston, you see how it's got the arrow? Well, the arrow is going to go towards the crank pulley side. All of them need to face the right way. Arrows go that way. But what about the rod? You have to orientate this the correct way as well. And if you look here, all of the Chevy rods are going to have this little dimple right there. Well, the dimple needs to face the same way as the arrow. So dimple here, arrow here, they're going to go in just like that. Make sure you get that right because you might destroy your engine. Next, get yourself some kind of vise or jig and line it with some something that's not metal. Some rubber would just do fine because we need to be able to hold this piston on the downside here, just like that. Because while we're heating that rod up, I'm gonna have to hold the rod and then slide the wrist pin in quickly. Okay, we're gonna check where our arrow is. So our arrow is going that way. So we're gonna lay it down just like this. Find the dimple in my rod, which is right there. I'm gonna slide it in here like this when it's heated up, of course. And then we're gonna slide the wrist pin in this way.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I wanna wanna be the greatest. Everybody on the fake shit, I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant, I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows for 1,000 faces. Hey, give me that crown, get in my way and to be put down. It ain't your place, all this my town. If I want that shit, then I'll get it right now. I'm losing it, the noose it fits, I'm losing shit. A stupid myth, you choose to live or choose to dip. You choose to fight or lose your grip and lose a gift. Oh, I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. Yeah, there's no mercy in this world, just hunger.
And just so you guys don't think this is camera magic, I'm actually going to do this in real time with no cuts. Grab my piston, make sure my arrow is going this way, slide it into my jig here. I'm gonna run to the freezer and get my wrist pin, my final wrist pin. There we are, nice and chilled. You can tell Siri, set a timer for 3 minutes. Hey Siri, set a timer for 3 minutes.
3 minutes starting now.
Gonna go ahead, start heating this thing up. I found about 3 minutes is pretty good. You know, the internet, it doesn't show you how long or tell you how long you should heat these things up for under direct heat of this torch. But I found out the secret for you guys. Just hold it under here for about 3 minutes until it gets a little bit red, and you will be able to slide that wrist pin in with no problem. Probably gonna be the longest 3 minutes of your life. I apologize. Just think happy thoughts, like lowriders, and how this S10 is gonna be the baddest S10 on the planet. Hydraulics, fully built engine by yours truly. If you guys haven't, make sure you like and subscribe, because without you guys, I cannot do this stuff whatsoever. I don't make that kind of money. So please like and subscribe. Tell your friends, family, neighbors, anybody you can. That Gas Diesel Garage is showing you guys exactly how to build stuff like this engine. All you need to do is just get yourself a 4,000 BTU torch. You can get this thing at Lowe's or Home Depot. I think these things are probably about, I don't know, $40. But believe me, it's well worth it. Oh yeah, by the way, make sure you guys wear gloves. This piston rod, it will get hot. Very hot. I know earlier you saw me not wearing gloves. That was a stupid mistake. Safety is no accident, ladies and gentlemen. See, it's starting to get a little bit red, cherry red. That's what we want, because we want that wrist pin to go in smooth as butter. There we go. There's the alarm. Right. Slide this in. Gotta be quick about it. There we go. Gotta work it out a little bit. Make sure the seat's in there very good. It will, believe me. Hey Siri, stop. There we go. Cooling down now. And there we are. Wrist pins installed. Pistons ready to go in the engine. Now that I got all my pistons on, now I need to install the rings. And the cool thing about D&J pistons is that they actually mark everything on how it's supposed to go. Like number 1, that goes first. Number 1 first. Number 2, 2. And then your oil rings and all that good stuff, that goes last on third here. See all these little gaps? That's where we got to install these rings. This one goes right here. Second one goes to the second. And then there's the little accordion looking things that goes in, and then you got to put the 2 of those little retainers in. Let's just go ahead and get started and install this. Start from the bottom and then go on up. Start with that one. Put the accordion ring on. I know it's called something else, probably oil something, but it doesn't really matter. But you see the openings here? We're gonna alternate these so they don't all line up. They all line up, then you're gonna have some really bad problems. So put that on, and then grab this one. Actually, let me see where my opening is. It is right there. Rule of thumb is that I actually put that opening so I know where it's at on my finger, basically. And we're gonna install these rings. Install this opening here. Try to be in this quarter. I kind of look at it like a quadrant. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So I put this one all the way at the bottom. Oh, and by the way, try not to bend these things, because you're going to be in bad shape there too. So I'm going to line this up. There we go. Right. Sure that's in there. And yes, you can use a pick just to line stuff up. Try not to damage your piston, or scratch or score it, or what have you. They can be a little tricky. There we go. There we go. That's fitting better. Okay. Now that that opening is there, we want to put the other opening on this side. So let's go ahead and put it like that. Oops. And this is why we use a pick, because it'll get stuck down in there. Okay, now that bottom one, that's finished. Now let's go to 2. This one we're going to put on the third quadrant right there. And yes, sometimes you may have to be very, very delicate with this one, because this one is brittle as heck sometimes, depending on who you get them from. But if you go to D&J and get them, you won't have no problem. There we go. There we go. Try not to separate them that bad, because they will break. I've had these things break before, and that's not cool. Okay, right, and that one's in there. And then let's go to number 1, and let's just go ahead and put this over here. Alternating. There we go. One piston done. Now we need to do all the other ones, the other 5. So I'm just gonna, let's just fast forward through all this. since I already showed you how to put one together. Now that I got the pistons done, now it's time to move on to the engine block. I need to start putting all the crank bearings in, put the crank on, lube it up, and then install the pistons. Of course, I'm putting new bearings in. Make sure all these little valleys here, make sure all the oil feed holes, make sure there's nothing inside of them. I blew them out. Anyways, now let's install the bearings. Got new bearings. Put that one right there. And I'm not using the okay. There, got to line up the little notch there. Give it a little bang there. Make sure that's flush. Right. Go get the little ones. You can always tell which ones are the oil feeds because they actually got a hole in it. Okay. Alrighty. Then I get go grab my engine assembly lube. Now the stuff I use, it's just stuff I picked up at O'Reilly's or any other parts store. Just some engine assembly lube, yeah, with graphite in it. Put a light coat on your bearings, and then you won't have to worry about it seizing up when you start this thing. Always good to lube. Lube, lube, lube. Okay. Make sure you try to not get anything in the holes, but I know that's inevitable. Now after we got it all lubed up, we gently put our crank in. Gently. You do not want to damage anything, so just take your time. There we go. Alright. Okay, just give it a little swing a little bit. Get some of that grease on there. You see right there? That's what we want to see. Alright. Now we just got to put the bearing caps on. Check our clearances. Yeah, our what's that that thrust bearing clearance, that 1 to 2 thousandths that they always talk about. We'll do that for all you technical people out there. Okay, this one's self-explanatory. Put that on. This actually holds the oil pump. The oil pump sits down through here, and then it mechanically works. So let's throw that on there. Okay. And you gotta see, you see these arrows? That means it's pointing to the front. Okay, this is number 3, so let's put that right here. Okay. Number 2, arrow pointing to the front. Okay. Number 1. Today I become number 1. Okay. And of course I give them a little tap with a non-lethal blow. Just a little tap tap. Okay. Let me see if I can still turn it. Oh, see, that's why we tap them down, because you saw that one jump. That means it was not centered. Okay. Now I'm just starting the bolts. I'm not going to zip them down yet because obviously we got to torque these things. Now according to GM, on the main bearings here you got to do 2 passes with the torque wrench. Number 1 is 15 foot-pounds to each head, and then you got to do 73-degree set. So you got to get one of those special torque wrenches like I got right here. You have angle torque, but then you also have the foot-pound torque. So the angle torque is 73 and the foot-pounds torque is 15. So that's what we're going to do to all 8 of these main bolts. So let's go to the 15 first. Alright. There. Alright. Now we got to switch it to the angle. Alright, we're at 73. Alright. Okay. Now we just got to do that to the rest of them. So let's go to my 15 again. And yes, I know there's probably some kind of, pattern that you're supposed to do these things in, but I just do it this way. So you can burn me in the comments if you like. Okay. All right. Let's switch it to my angle. Right. Okay.